Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Clause YouTube channel Strategic Frontlines. Today we have with us Ambassador Sajjanhar. He was India's ambassador to Kazakhstan, Sweden, and Latvia. We also have with us Maj Gen RPS Bhadauria, PSM retired. He is Additional Director General of Clause and is a strategic analyst. I welcome both of you to this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be discussing today the BRICS Summit. As we all know, it is scheduled on 6th and 7th of July in Brazil. The theme this year has been strengthening Global South for more inclusive and sustainable governance cooperation. As we all know that by 2025, the BRICS membership has increased and it is now, we have got 10 full members. And Indonesia was the last one to join. So the new members include Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia. BRICS is significant because it accounts for nearly 46% of world's population and nearly 36% global GDP in PPP terms, purchasing power terms. So it's a significant bloc and it aims to reshape the global governance and tries to amplify the voice of emerging economies. It's often considered as a counterweight to Western blocs like the G7 because of the BRICS geographical and economic reach, which is much wider. And often it is said that it's a legitimate voice of Global South, in spite of a lot of geopolitical challenges. What BRICS tries to achieve is it wants to reform global governance, to reduce reliance on US dollar and other institutions like IMF and World Bank, as it has its own developmental bank, that is the New Development Bank, but it also has its own problems and complexities. So my first question is to Ambassador Sajjanhar. Ambassador Sajjanhar, what do you feel this BRICS is all about? What is the long-term vision of the BRICS?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Roshan, first of all, for inviting me to this program. And thank you for this very comprehensive introduction. And thank you for the question. So, you know what BRICS is all about? I think if we can go back and trace the history of the evolution of BRICS, you know, right from 2001, when the senior economist of Goldman Sachs, James O'Neill, he had given this idea that these four countries, emerging economies, big markets, big territories, big population, and he had given this acronym BRIC, BRIC, that is Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Because if you see, they have these characteristics. They are at that time, 2001, they were not all that large economies, but they had the potential. But at least in terms of territory, in terms of population, they were very large countries. And he said that they will have a very significant role to play as far as global economy is concerned in the years to come. So this was, an economist of a bank, global bank, that was, coming out with this suggestion. But then it was taken up seriously in 2006. We had the first meeting of the foreign ministers of these four countries on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in September of 2006. And then in 2009, we had the first summit of the leaders of the four countries. Next year, December 2010, South Africa was also added and became BRICS. Now, the whole idea why these countries got together was because they, it was their thinking, it was their view that they had got the short end of the stick as far as the global financial architecture is concerned, the global trading regime is concerned. They have not got their due. So the idea was that all of us, these emerging economies, will get together and negotiate as one bloc, so to say, so that we can get better terms from the developed countries, that is, from the G7 members. And at that time, of course, if you look at, you have given some statistics about GDP, etc. So, that is of the 10 countries. So at that time, the G7 was both in purchasing power parity terms as well as in nominal dollar terms. These seven countries, they were much bigger and they had a much greater dominating influence over the global economy. But that had started changing. That started changing. We saw 2007, 2008, we had the global economic crisis, after which, G7, at least for financial purposes, was transformed to G20. And you would recall the first meetings of G20 were held in Washington, first twice a year, basically to deal with the crisis, with the global economic crisis. But after that, G20 became more fashionable, if I can say. They used to have meetings there. But coming back to BRICS very quickly, they've been having meetings since 2009. Every year they have had meetings. Not a single leader, big leader, has missed out on those meetings, except for Mr. Putin in the last few years after the Russia-Ukraine conflict started. So here, this would give an idea to the viewers and listeners what is the importance that these countries attach to this meeting, because you will see that there are so many multilateral bodies, intergovernmental bodies. They have meetings. Sometimes they will not meet in between for 2-3 years. But here, these countries gave great importance. And so the meetings have been taking place from 2009 till now in 2025. It's going to be the 17th meeting. And it has had some achievements. In 2015, we had the new development bank that was established. But over the last 2-3 years, it has had some sort of a rather lackadaisical sort of a process, particularly over the last 7-8 years, till 2013, when suddenly the interest in joining BRICS, that started. And so we had in Johannesburg in August 2023, we had 6 countries that were added. And those were Ethiopia, Iran, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Argentina, and Egypt. So there were 6 countries. Now, Argentina, after the election, said that we are not interested in joining because of certain political reasons. And Saudi Arabia has till date not been able to make up its mind whether it wants to join. There are reasons. If you're interested, we could discuss that later. But then Indonesia was invited. Indonesia, as you said, is the latest entrant on the 6th of January 2025. So now we have 10 members. So in addition to the original 5, there are these 5 others, which is Egypt, UAE, Iran, Ethiopia, and Indonesia, these 5 members. And in Kazan summit last year in Russia, it was decided, because there were about 30 or 40 countries which wanted to become members. So another category was established, and that was named as the partner countries. So there are 12 of them, also significant economies in their own right. So they were included. So right now, when on 6th and 7th, the meeting of the BRICS summit takes place, we will have 10 leaders from these 10 member states. They are expected to be 12 of the partner states, their heads of state or heads of government. There are other 8 friendly countries that have been invited by Brazil. And there are 7 international organizations whose heads have also been invited by Brazil. So there is going to be all this grouping, and what they are going to discuss is issues related to global governance, because that is very important. That is what the global south feels,
Yes.
that it has not been able to get its due. It will discuss issues related to peace and security, and it will discuss issues related to strengthening multilateralism. As you said, global south is the basic focus of Brazil, and so we can discuss as to what are going to be the challenges and what progress this meeting can make. The last sentence I would like to add in this, introduction, which has got a little lengthy. I'm sorry for that. That next year India is going to be the chair
Oh,
of BRICS.
yes.
And so that becomes very important for us. Prime Minister Modi will be there, reaching there on the 5th, that is day after tomorrow in the evening from Argentina, and he'll be participating. Although Xi Jinping of China, he's not coming, and Mr. Putin of Russia, he will also not be attending. Russia.
Yeah, you rightly pointed out that the BRICS has grown what it was and what it is now, and so many countries have been called. And you rightly stated that the emerging economies thought that they needed a bargaining power with the developing countries, so it came up. But continuing with this thought, I would like to invite General Bhadauria, and I would like to ask him that BRICS often has been perceived by some as a counterweight to the West, especially as it pushes for de-dollarization, alternative finance systems, reform to global governance, what Ambassador Sajjanhar also spoke about. And all these things tries to challenge the US and the West system. So what is your take on that?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Firstly, like your the topic for today's podcast suggests that forging consensus. I just wish to highlight that recently, in past month or two, we have had four very important meetings, namely G7, SCO, Quad, and BRICS, which is now going to happen on 5th and 6th. Two are at the summit level, that is the leaders are attending, and two at the ministerial level. Now, what I wish to highlight is that in G7 and SCO, there was no consensus, and they could not come out with a declaration, right? The reasons are where in G7, probably there is lack of trust at the highest level, and we all know that President Trump left the meeting a day or two earlier than what he should have. And in SCO, the whole thing was not fructified, or the declaration could not fructify, because India's concern about terrorism were not taken into consideration. Now, Quad also, we just heard the foreign ministers of the four countries, their statements. India very emphatically had said that terrorism should be the security concern in the world, or one of the prime security concerns in the world, and perpetrators of the terrorism and the victims should not be equated. However, when you heard the three other foreign minister in their articulation, in their briefing to the press, we did not uh, see or hear echo of this sentiment which our foreign minister had said. So that means that going forward in this fragmented world, achieving consensus, whatever be the grouping, is going to be a huge challenge, because the world today is fragmented. If we see the way UNSC votes, it is always 3-2, three on one side, two on other side. So in this fragmented world, to achieve consensus going forward would be very, very difficult. So whatever be the grouping. Now, coming to your question, whether it is anti-West or not, all the countries, even Russia, they also say that they do not want to be seen as anti-West. Of course, India's position is very clear that we do not want this to be anti-West, because we are having good bilateral relations and also relations with the West. So we do not want it to be. The other countries are also not wanting it to be anti-West at this stage, because anti-West meaning then you'll have to be making choices between the West and the mainly Russia and China. So that dilemma, these two countries also do not want to put others into the new members or the members who are already existing. So what does the BRICS then stand for? Ambassador, I mean, covered it in great detail. I just want to highlight one or two aspects that now, like what Ambassador said was that West was getting their way through in practically everything that they were doing, right? And the world majority states, what Russians call the rest of the world as, were feeling that their voices were not being heard. So this BRICS, I mean, the grouping said that, look, we'll have dialogue and consensus building in the international institutions. So that is what was their dominant sentiment. Now, what has happened is that Russia and China, they are wanting the transformation of the international institutions, whereas South Africa, Brazil, and India, which all three happen to be democratic countries, are wanting greater representation within these international institutions which are functioning. Like in UNSC, all three want to be the members, right? So that is the real issue which is going forward. And of course, BRICS is getting a lot of traction. There's a lot of attraction within the South, the global South, to become members. Like the ambassador said, there are more members than what BRICS probably can take at this stage. And latest was Indonesia. And when talking about global South, well, I just want to flag one issue which normally people say, that is China a global South country or is it a developing country? Because global South means developing countries. And that is where India is wanting to be seen as a leader, voicing their concerns in BRICS. Right? So that is one. However, there are two concerns within the BRICS, right? And these are, first one is regarding the financial system. Now, they are wanting to have an alternate to the dysfunctional dollar payment system. We are also a victim of that, right? There have been sanctions put on Iran. There are sanctions on Russia, because of which the other countries cannot do trade with them. Like we have bought a lot of oil from Russia, we have paid in rupees, or maybe we have paid through third country that is not known. But what does Russia do with these rupees? They have to ultimately invest in India, right? And they have to come up with some projects where they can invest. Then how do they take out the money from here? So that is, whenever you speak to Russians, this is one challenge which they are facing. Like we are facing challenge even buying oil from Iran. We found a solution. We had diversified our sources. However, Chabar, now that is always giving us a problem, that how do we operationalize the whole issue because of the sanctions. So payments in local currencies, like I highlighted about India and Russia, it has got its limitations. It cannot be done, the way we trade in dollars. So therefore, these countries are trying to find a solution to that. Now, single currency was one option, of which is actually too premature at this stage because of
Yes.
two reasons. Firstly, the economies of these countries are not integrated, meaning the banks, the central banks and other banks are not integrated. Are they going to be integrated in future? Looks very unlikely, because the way the whole thing is panning out, the geopolitical situation, right? Then the level of growth of these countries is not similar. So, because of which this particular aspect, and the West sees this as a threat to them. And that is why Trump had said that in case they come up with their alternate currency, I would impose 100% tariffs. So there is a concern in the West, but there the even the BRICS have challenges to find a solution to this dollar payment system. The other aspect which I wish to highlight, which is very well known to the Indians, is the deep division within the BRICS on the lines of India and China. Right? This is one of the contradictions of BRICS. They have to have consensus on all the issues, and we know that India and China, there's a strategic mistrust, and going forward, like what we saw in Operation Sindoor, we saw a Pakistan-China fusion, right? They were fused together against a very, what we only acted against the terrorist, and both these countries came together to be seen militarily to be fighting against India. So that kind of a thing is a real worry to us. And earlier, we were trying to hedge BRICS against with US to get some kind of a mileage, but now we are hedging Quad with BRICS because we have come to some kind of a consensus that after Doklam, after Galwan, and this Operation Sindoor, probably China would remain a strategic competitor, and we might not be having those kind of peaceful relations even on the LAC. So those are the two challenges I wanted to highlight within BRICS. So that is where
Uh,
I'll stop now.
Continuing with what you talked about, deep division, General Bhadauria, I'll like to get in Ambassador Sajjanhar. We know that as the organization becomes larger and larger and more countries join, then there will be clash of interest. So, how, in your view, is BRICS going to navigate those challenges? And can it come out as a one voice? That is one question. And second, I want to ask you is what role does Global South play in the expanded BRICS agenda? And can the bloc effectively advocate its interests in the international stage?
Yeah, thank you very much, Roshan, for both these questions. I think they are excellent questions. Basically, I think that is the biggest challenge in terms of getting convergence, in terms of getting consensus, as far as interests of the different countries are concerned. We know that now for some time, and particularly, when the Kazan summit happened last year, in October in Russia, then Russia was wanting to portray BRICS as an anti-Western setup, as an anti-Western institution, and to send out a message to the West that Russia is not isolated. Because the whole idea of sanctions post 2022, February 22, when the invasion of Ukraine started, that was basically to isolate Russia. And by getting so many countries, heads of government, and heads of state to participate in the summit, the idea was that, showcase it that Russia is not isolated and BRICS is emerging as an anti Western body. Now, this is definitely not only not in our interest, because as General Bhadauria very correctly explained, and I agree with him, that it's not only India, it's also Brazil, it's also countries like Egypt, countries like the United Arab Emirates. You leave aside Iran, but all the other countries, Indonesia, but all of them would like to have good relations with the West, and they would like to have good relations with the United States, and particularly, with Mr. Trump at the helm of affairs there. I don't think anyone wants to say anything or do anything which Mr. Trump might take as an affront, and he might sort of, shoot off something. So I don't think anyone wants really to go down that path. So that is why it has been very clearly articulated by our external affairs minister that BRICS, as far as we are concerned, is a non-Western institution. It's a non-Western body, but it's not an anti-Western. We are not opposed to, meaning what the global South, meaning earlier it was only emerging economies, but now, when the expansion took place in Johannesburg in 2023, then they did not meet the original criteria of Jim O'Neill. In fact, even South Korea, in terms of population, territory, and size of the economy, it did not meet that criteria. And you look at the other countries that have been added, Ethiopia and, I mean, these are all not even members of the G20. So they are not top 20 economies of the world. The first original BRICS members, they were all members of G20. That means they had a heft as far as their economy is concerned. So I think that, to respond to your first question, I think that is definitely going to be a challenge. And that is why, in my view, what Brazil has thought, that it is not going to get involved in any of the more contentious issues or more controversial issues, and it is going to deal basically with the global south, how to promote the interests of the global south, global governance in terms of looking at how the international institutions, they can be reformed, etc., and not a total overhaul. I don't think anyone is really looking for an overhaul of this. So I think this is a part of your the title of this podcast also, getting consensus. I think consensus is going to be very difficult, but in my view, what is going to be the challenge that is going to be, in addition to what you had mentioned about de-dollarization, etc. Let me mention two other challenges that I see happening. One is in terms of the new members, the 5 new members that we have spoken about, that they have come in, how to integrate them into the functioning of the BRICS as it takes place. So far they have been sort of, although it has been now what, 1.5 years, 1st January 2024, 4 of them joined. Indonesia joined early this year. So how, what is known as socializing them, how to integrate them to become, develop a sort of a comfort level and a working relationship as far as these 5 countries are concerned. And here I think it needs to be recognized that there are some countries whose views will be quite extreme. For instance, as far as Iran is concerned, that is a totally anti-Western perspective that it will bring to all the deliberations and all the negotiations. So I think we really have to be mindful of that. The other is, I think we have to see that out of the 5 countries that have been inducted afresh, 4 of them are Muslim majority countries. It is Indonesia, it is Iran, it is Egypt, and it is UAE. Of course, some of them are more moderate than the others, etc., etc. But I think when it is our experience that when issues of this nature are concerned, then many of the Muslim majority states, they tend to vote with each other. That is what we have seen, even as far as, let's say, Israel, Gaza is concerned, Hamas is concerned, Israel, Iran is concerned, because I think the Arab street has been so vocal and so proactive and has been coming onto the streets. So that is number one. Number two, I think, is going to be that the partner countries, the 12 of them, and they are also significant entities in their own right. So how to engage these countries? And there are still about, I think, more than 20 countries who are waiting out in the wings and knocking on the doors of BRICS to come in some way or the other. You would have seen that even when Prime Minister is just leaving Ghana, even Ghana is interested in becoming a member of BRICS, because all these countries, they want other options, and these options they think that they can get by engaging themselves with this particular platform. So I think how to deal with those, and in my view, what Brazil seems to have done, and we will be able to see the final outcome in another 2-3 days. But it will be that they will not really very seriously touch upon the expansion. I think we have a very good argument for that, that we need to consolidate first, have a horizontal consolidation first before we go on for a vertical expansion. So I think that is the stance that Brazil is going to pursue. Very quickly, let me tell you about, share my own thoughts. I tend to agree with General Bhadauria when he said about de-dollarization. I don't think that is in the interest of any of the countries. Even the original five BRICS, this was floated, BRICS currency de-dollarization, and this seems to have, got a bee in the bonnet of Mr. Trump, who threatened that he is going to impose 100% tariffs, additional tariffs, and all. But I don't think, number one, that it is a serious proposition. Number two, that it is a viable proposition. It is not, because no country is willing to give up its own currency. Just as an example, meaning, would India be willing to give up its rupee to trade in Chinese yuan, renminbi? Not at all. So I don't think there is, any traction to that. There will be no consensus on which currency should it be. And in any case, out of BRICS currencies, maybe one can say that renminbi is the one that is the strongest, and where the economy is the largest as far as China. But even there, it hardly has any standing as far as global financial exchanges and architecture is concerned. So I don't think that is a realistic proposition. Here, I think basically it will be on issues of global governance, promoting multilateralism, promoting multipolarity, on issues related to AI, on issues related to global health, on education. I think these are the sort of issues that the Brazilian chair is going to take up and come up with some results, rather than wade into very muddy and murky waters, and not be able to get out of that swamp that they enter in.
I would like to bring in General Bhadauria here. Ambassador Sajjanhar was talking about the horizontal consolidation, and rightly he pointed out that. But what are your views with the absence of two major leaders like President Xi and President Putin? Do you think it will have any impact, or you feel the show will go on because there are a lot of new nations, leaders who are joining? And also, will the expansion of the BRIC, will it impact the dynamics and the objective? Your view.
I think you're muted, General.
General, yeah.
Thank you. So let me just begin by recalling what the Russian foreign minister in 1996 did was, Primakov. He brought in a grouping called RIC, R-I-C, that is Russia, India, and China. Now, if you see BRICS, it is at the heart of BRICS, even in the acronyms. Bravo on one side and South Africa on the other side. In the center is the RIC, right? So that is at the heart of it. Now imagine, out of this heart, in case two leaders are not coming, then it symbolically it weakens the whole event. Right? Substantially, they might end up doing something like what Ambassador was saying, that Brazil, they want to take forward whatever they had done in G20 2024, because they were they held the presidency that time. So they want to push some of those aspects which they may well be able to do. But symbolically, it looks a little different. Right? In case both these leaders had attended, it would have been far better. Right now, Xi Jinping is not attending because of the reasons that are little unknown. Right, people are saying, I mean, what has been put out is that scheduling difficulties were there, but these meetings are scheduled much in advance. So I think those difficulties could have been overcome. Also, there are reports to say that they are a little irritated with Brazil because they want to give, they are giving a little more importance to India, because after this BRICS meeting, then Prime Minister Modi is having a bilateral visit to Brazil, and he's traveling to Brasilia, right? So it could be any of the reasons, but the fact of the matter is that symbolically this would look weaker, right? And also, here I must highlight what happened during Iran and Israel war. both these countries, the Russia and Russia and China, both of them have strategic partnership with Iran. Some 20 years, some 25 years. China wanted to invest $400 billion up to, say, next 10 years, 15 years, something. Now, what happened actually on ground? Iran felt let down because both these countries did not come forward in meaningful ways to support them. Right? They were, of course, support in the UN diplomatically, but not substantially, which Iran, I'm sure, would have felt let down. Now, why did this not happen? Because each one of them, Russia and China, individually were cutting a deal with Trump. Right? Russia is cutting a deal with Trump on Ukraine war. Right? So, if you recollect, Trump had said that I had a conversation with Putin just before he struck, and it was not about Ukraine war. So, what was it about? Right? So there is something going on there. And we have seen that Russians have of late intensified their operations in Ukraine. So they know that Trump is not fully engaged. US is not fully behind Ukraine. So they want to make as much gains as is possible. Likewise, China. They are cutting a deal on trade. Trump, about a few days back, had said that I have, we have found a solution and we are going to have a trade deal with China, right? So, therefore, in the BRICS countries also, when you said, is it anti-West? All of them are doing business with West, right? So, in this meeting, uh, symbolically, of course, much weaker. The good thing, which I personally feel, is the focus would now be on other leaders, namely Lula, the president of Brazil, Prime Minister Modi, right? They would come to the fore. So in a way, it may not be a very bad thing that these two leaders are not coming. Thank you.
Ambassador Sajjanhar, I would like to talk to you about, you talked about de-dollarization and things like that, but there was also a discussion about alternative payment mechanism and supply chain coordination. So I would like to know your views on that. And also, the final question what I want to ask you is, what will be the outcome of this BRICS? Do you think that apart from what you spoke, climate will also be taken into consideration, considering that for Brazil, climate is a very important thing. And so advancing climate finance, supporting sustainable development, and aligning with major events like COP30, those would be important the discussions. Also on artificial intelligence governance, since India is there, India would like to have a discussion on that also. And so what do you feel on both the aspects?
Yeah, so first coming to the second one, Roshan, I think there is a convergence between the interest that the issues that Brazil is pursuing and the interests of India. So I think there is we are really in lockstep with Brazil, because we also want to take up global South issues. We don't want to take up controversial issues that Iran brings this and come out with a resolution against. Maybe there will be a resolution against Israel and all that sort of things. But then BRICS was able to adopt a resolution on the Iran-Israel and conflict just very recently after that started. So maybe that will be done. But basically, we want to look at the positive elements of the agenda. You mentioned about climate change, artificial intelligence, etc. Definitely, I think those will be important elements, and you said it very correctly yourself that there is the COP30 that is going to be held in Rio later this year. So definitely that is going to be an issue, and I think those are issues that we've been discussing for a long time, and those are all issues I think on which most of the countries membership, at least the 10 countries of who are the main members of BRICS as such, they are all on the same page. They are on the same wavelength because they want technology at appropriate rates and appropriate technology and funding and financing of their projects and initiatives. So I don't think there is very much. And these are all the developing countries which are looking for technology and finance from the developed world, from the G7 countries, and so on and so forth. So I don't think there is going to be much difference as far as AI is concerned. Yes, again, meaning this is still a fresh issue. We had this AI summit in Paris recently, in which India was the co-host. But the regulatory mechanisms, global regulatory mechanisms of AI, I think that is an issue that exercises the minds of many people. So I think that is definitely also going to come up. And while there might be some discussion on that in terms of, but those will be by and large technical aspects of this issue, and they will not be geopolitical issues that are going to be discussed. So I think definitely those are going to be taken up. Now, as far as your first question is concerned, Roshan, that is the alternate mechanisms. I think basically, because I've been following it for quite some time, and I've been following also the discussions on trade between the different member states in national currencies. And that has, the debate has been going on whether we can get an alternate mechanism. And I think if it was possible to, in my view, and I could be sort of, because I'm not really a finance person as such, but if an alternative was possible at all, then we would have been able to find it since February 22. Because we see that Russia has its back to the wall. And there are countries, as General Bhadauria said, we have been importing $60 billion worth of oil from Russia. So how do we make the payment? We, with Iran earlier, we had established escrow accounts, and we were, through the Turkish lira, we were making the payments and all that. But apparently, right now, it is, those mechanisms are not workable, are not functional. So I think that any sustainable, efficient, workable alternate mechanism, I don't think we have been able to get. So the basic way to go about it is trading in national currencies. That also, it is not as if you decide today, you can start doing it tomorrow. It will take a little bit of time for, the banking systems. You would recall that, many years just after the Iran-Iraq war had started, there was a body that was brought in, which was known as the Asian Clearing Union, ACU, and that was way back in the 1990s. And that also did try to do something, but then it fell by the wayside and went into oblivion. So I think at the moment, what India is trying to do, have trade in national currencies. I think we have about 18, 20 countries. I'm not sure about the number, but that number is growing, that number is increasing. It definitely is a much more efficient way of trading, because otherwise, what you do is you first invoice it in dollars, then exchange that invoice into the currency of the importing or the exporting country. So, there are lots of commissions that are involved. So I would imagine that to the way forward really at this moment still continues to be, if it is not any other mechanism, it is trading in national currencies. And that has been increasing. It's been growing, particularly between Russia and China. And now we see, even as far as, Pakistan is a small economy, but its trade with China is being conducted in renminbis.
General Bhadauria, would you like to add something to it before we take questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you. I think we can now take questions.
Okay. Roku wants to know, bringing Iran into BRICS in 2023 might turn out to work against India. Your views. Ambassador Sajjanhar, we can start with you, and then General Bhadauria, you can.
Okay. Well, One of the reasons I remember when the expansion of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was being done, then there were certain criteria, and one of the criteria was that the country should not be at war with because then that can create complications. And so that is why it delayed the membership of Iran, and it was able to come in only basically when much of the sanctions were removed in 2015. Okay, they were reimposed, but then it became a member in 2023 under the chairmanship of India. Now here, when the conflict between the two of in West Asia, it has been going on like this, then I think it is not, I don't know whether I'll go to the extent of saying that it will turn out to work against India, but I'll say it turn out to work against harmonious functioning of the BRICS as an institution, because it would mean that one country would tend to take very extreme positions, and we see that Iran has been helping Russia very significantly with supplies of drones for the its conflict with Ukraine. So there it would be like to take extremist positions, which will lead to more debates, more discussions, etc. And it would not be helpful to having developing that comfort level and uh, bringing about consensus on many issues. Much time will be lost in this.
General Bhadauria, would you like to add something?
No, I
Or
don't
shall
think so. I'll just offer a very short comment. It will not work against us because Iran is a very important country for us.
yeah.
We have historical ties, and even going in future also, we look forward to Iran for lot many things, mainly connectivity to Central Asian republics. So not really against us, but like what Ambassador said, it'll always be a challenge to come up with some consensus, because India is following a strategy of multi alignment, right? So we are with Iran, we want to be with Iran, we are also with Israel, with so many things. So that would come under stress, and we would find it challenging to how to manage those contradictions. So that is all that I wish to say.
There's another question from Mr. Thadani. He says that the Americans feel that Bharat is not conforming with their agenda and follows its own strategic autonomy. So, if suppose sanctions were put, then will it be sustainable or things like that? So, Ambassador Sajjanhar, first you, then Ambassador, then General
Okay.
Bhadauria.
Yeah, I think this is the first part is an argument that Ashley Tillis has made, that India is not completely supporting the US position, and it is using its strategic autonomy, not criticizing or condemning Russia for the attack against Ukraine and continuing to buy oil. So that is meaning I don't subscribe to that, because we are
Yes.
not allies, we are partners, and we have our own interests. Meaning, if they would want me to align completely with them, then I would expect them to align completely with our interests. And whether it is in terms of how they are dealing with Pakistan, how they are dealing with Bangladesh, what is happening there, how they are dealing even with Myanmar, then I would expect them to. But United States thinks that it's an exceptional power, and it has the that flexibility to have its own power, have its own position on different issues. So I think India also, as a growing economy, fourth largest, getting to be third largest, we can have our own positions. Now, if this bill that is in there, and which some people say that has the support of Mr. Trump, saying that those who are buying oil from Russia, they will be slapped with 500% tariffs and all that. I would sincerely hope that it doesn't come into play, into being. We had the S400s that we imported from Russia. There were other countries also, Turkey and China. Turkey and China, they had to face penal tariffs from the United States, not India. So I think India's position as a partner of the United States is very special because it is not one issue based or two issues. It is a whole gamut of relations, and it's not only trade, it's not only technology, it's not only defense, it's not only energy, it's also Indo-Pacific, it's Quad, it is, and right now in the Quad we have spoken about this critical minerals initiative. That's also very important. So I think that that better sense will prevail as far as the U.S. Congress is concerned, and they will not take a decision on going forward with this 500% tariffs.
I think I agree with you. The institutions, what has been built for the last 7 to 8 years. So I think they should work. I mean, it's not one person can change all the institutions so fast. We have to be patient and wait for that. But I would also like to ask General Bhadauria if you want to comment something on this.
No, I think everything has been covered by Ambassador. Just a very short, this thing, one-liner, that Trump is only going to be there for 4 years. 6 months are already passed. Last 1 year, they are all lame duck, right? So we should not get too carried away by or too this concerned by what he says on the social media, right? So that is something. But underlying, we have strategic partnership with US. They need us as much as we need them for our development. We are military people. We know we need technology. And whom are we going to be using that against? We know the country also, right?
Adversaries.
We saw a bit of it during Op Sindhu. So we need to get technology, and that can only come from country like US, can come from France. So we have to have good relations with them till the time we actually our own R&D and our own defense industry comes of age, and we are able to get everything on ourselves. So therefore, this partnership with US is very, very important, and it must continue. On social media, we are seeing all kinds of views by Indians. I think they are not in, they should be avoided.
Yeah. We were talking about that it's not possible to de-dollarize, and there's no single currency as strong as the dollar is. So there is one interesting comment by Vicky. He's saying, "Why not trade with gold?" So, Ambassador Sajjanhar, and then.
Okay, I think gold is a precious commodity, but it is not in such abundant supply that it can be used for trading purposes. And you would recall that even in the early 1970s, Richard Nixon also went off the gold standard because there is not enough gold that could be used for doing all trade. It is used as a reserve, all right, but that is in certain quantities. But otherwise, you have to, as a medium of exchange, you have to have something that is easily transferable, and the banking systems are working on the basis of that. If it is just gold as a medium of transaction, I think it is not both sustainable or economically viable.
Yes. There's one question. He has also said that Trump is trying to wean away Russia from China and do business. Then what is this crazy 500% tariff all about? Is US confused on that? And shouldn't government of India openly embrace US?
Definitely, embarrassing US, it doesn't help you anywhere. I think basically what you have to look for, what are the outcomes? And do I get a better outcome by embarrassing the United States? No, I agree with General Bhadauria when he said that, he is possibly, Mr. Trump is an aberration. He is a passing phenomenon. He will, go and I think these presidents become lame ducks after these elections, the second year. Next year in November, there'll be elections. And it happens that the party that has won the White House, they suffer a very heavy defeat in the midterm elections. So let us see what is going to happen as far as that is concerned. And embarrassing the United States doesn't help me at all. That is why you would see that we have said our own position, but in public, we have not gone about criticizing someone by name, etc. We've just given out the facts as they evolved, as they came about. So I think this is Mr. Trump's style: blow hot, blow cold. He says the art of the deal, and that this is the way. But I don't think these days, when you are trying to work with individuals, it is underlying trust, it is underlying confidence, it is underlying certainty, credibility. I think those are very important factors. Here he says, first tells Iran that, okay, China can import oil from you. We are going to give you so much subsidy to improve and, build your economy. And then he says, I'm going to sort of, your so-called supreme leader, we know where he is, and we are going to sort of, do away with him. So I think it leaves countries and individuals and leaders very nonplussed. And same thing with Russia. He blows hot, blows cold. So I think people don't really trust him much at all. They don't want to be on his wrong side, but then they
Yes.
don't want to sort of, be completely, they don't know where he actually stands.
I think he says something one day, the next day he'll just go back on it. So I think what we have done, we have taken a very balanced approach. So neither embarrass them nor embrace them. So we have, as of now, we have taken a very balanced approach. General Bhadauria, would you like to add something to it?
No, I just want to say we have to see the strategy behind what Trump is doing. And in a couple of days' time, it will be very clear to us, in case the tariffs on China are more than us, then that would tell us something, right?
Yes.
That would say how important India is and how our relationships would be growing in future, right? So that is something, that is the indication. All these things, I'll slap 500%, 100%. Those are all his style, right? So we have to understand. I think we have. So therefore, like what Ambassador said, our response on whatever statements Trump gave was diplomatically and very, very mature, in a very dignified manner. So that I think we should all support and feel proud of, that India could respond in a very dignified manner.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Sajjanhar and General Bhadauria, for this interesting and very detailed discussion on BRICS. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Thank you, Roshan. I think it's been a fascinating conversation, and thank you to Claus for inviting me. And I have enjoyed and benefited from our interaction. Thank you.
Thank you
We
for
hope to
joining us.
see you again.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.